What's up, family? I just wanted to check in again with a quick video. They say if you upload like every day or every other day, YouTube's algorithms will, kind of promote your videos a little more. So hopefully I can get some more views and some more subscribers. I think on our next video, Adrian will be back with me, and we'll be talking about our South African plans and our little journey. We're getting really excited. We're less than 30 days away from our next trip to Johannesburg, and we are really excited about that. But today I wanted to talk about, do Africans hate African Americans? Boy, this is a topic that comes up so often when I'm having this discussion about Africa with some of my African American friends or my black friends. So, um, I've heard several times that why would you go to Africa? They don't even like us, right? And it's usually from someone who has never visited the continent, and they have had little to no interaction with continental Africans. Sometimes they have had an interaction with, maybe a Nigerian co-worker or a Kenyan co-worker, and that experience may not have been, a favorable one or pleasurable one, and then they use that to generalize that Africans don't like African Americans, right? Here's what I say. I say I've been to the continent several times, and I've been to several different countries on the continent. And each time I have visited, I have been welcomed. In fact, I have heard the word welcome in several different languages, right? Welcome home, brother. Welcome home to my family. And I've always been embraced. But even prior to ever stepping foot on the continent, I went to a historically black college and university here in New Orleans called Dillard University. And at Dillard University, I had friends who were from Eritrea. I had friends who were from Ghana. I had friends who were from Nigeria. And what was really strange is that I never saw them as not just regular African Americans, regular black folk. It was not really until later on that I kind of recognized some differences, even in the names. My best friend, who I was the best man in his wedding, he's from Eritrea, and I knew he was Eritrean, but it never really mattered. He. In fact, he's been in the States, I mean, the overwhelming majority of his life. He has a Dallas, Texas accent, right? And everything about him is Texas, you know. So, but he is, Eritrean. Um, and some of my Ghanaian friends, my Nigerian friends, they were just so Americanized that I did not recognize the difference between them and myself. And we all had very similar experiences growing up. And we had the same reactions and responses to racism and white supremacy. So I always saw us as one. I didn't even recognize any differences. However, for individuals who have not had that experience, one thing that they do bring up is this word kata, right? I believe that's how you pronounce it. And I believe it's a Nigerian vulgar slang against um, African Americans. I think it means literally wildcat or something like that. Um, and I have spoken with a Nigerian student uh, who has been in the United States for the last 3 years. And he said that his mother told him not to get involved with Black Americans, with African Americans. So, I mean, there is that sentiment that may be there. in some of our continental African people. I mean, brothers and sisters, but let's be mindful. Nigeria is a country out of one country out of 54, right? And that may have just been his mother's, um, own preferences, her own prejudices, and her own biases. But we do know that that word kata has been used in a negative way towards Black Americans. But conversely, growing up, I remember people using terminologies like African booty scratcher towards our continental Africans. Really, they didn't even use it towards continental Africans. They used it towards other black people who were dark skinned. That if we really, really, really want to tell the truth, most of us did not have, especially here in the South, right? And in New Orleans, we didn't have many many continental Africans. There are some who lived here who are ethnically uh, African, but for the most part, the black people in the South and in New Orleans have been here, you know, a century or two or whatever have you. So when we use that terminology, African booty scratcher, right? Which I don't even know what that means, but when we used it, it was usually used against not an continental African, but used against an African American of darker hue, dark skinned African Americans. See, that's that color complex. Um, Colorism is alive and well in the United States, and I know it's alive and well in Nigeria. I see that skin bleaching and I think it's alive and well on the continent. It's part of a worldwide phenomenon, right? So, but yes, the terminology African booty scratcher um, and kata are both examples of African Americans uh, using a vulgar language or an insult towards Africans, and Africans using an insult towards African Americans. But just think about it. How few are those people who are using those insults? It's 40 million African Americans in the US, 40 million African Americans, and most of them have no negative, ill feelings towards Africa. Most of them recognize Africa as our origin. Most of them, I would venture to say that many of them seek to visit Africa one day and see very little distinction between continental Africans living in the United States and plain African Americans. They see very little distinction, right? Especially second generation continental Africans, because second generation continental Africans become very Americanized very quickly. And then again, as I mentioned before, outgroup homogeneity then places them in this black category. So, they may have been born in the United States to Nigerian parents, to Ghanaian parents, to Kenyan parents, but once they are born, this society immediately categorizes them as black, so they get the black experience, right? So they listen to the black music and they use African American slang, and they like African American women, or they like African American men. Even if they have these different cultural traditions at home, they still get integrated into black society and black culture. Now, in places where there are large African like groups of large African immigrants, or say for instance in Houston, there are a lot of Nigerians and some Ghanaians in Houston also. So they begin to, they have their own little communities that they have formed, but still they are part of the black culture. I think Toby in he's a rapper. I mispronounced his name just now, but he's a dope rapper. He's from Houston, but he is of Nigerian descent. But if you listen to him speak, if you listen to the things he talks about, if you listen to, like I say, his music in general, he is an African American for all intents and purposes, right? All intents and purposes. So, um, and conversely, when we look at our African brothers and sisters, again, there's 40 million African Americans here. There's a billion Africans on the continent, and I like to say this. Sure, I'm sure if I go to the continent, I can find some continental Africans who do not like African Americans, who do not want to be associated with African Americans because of the images that have been propagated of black Americans throughout this world, right? I talked before about South Africans watching black Americans on TV, and they were seeing, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air and the Cosby Show, and they thought that's the way we lived for that time. But then came the rise of gangster rap and hip hop, and those images of black Americans changed. If all you saw of if all you know of black Americans is what you see in rap and hip hop videos, right? And if you think that rap and hip hop videos are representative of our philosophy, of our ideology, of our theology, of our culture, of our heritage, then then there can be some problems embracing that, right? Just today, Young Dolph was murdered. Hip hop artist Young Dolph was murdered in his hometown, right? Uh, and when you listen to the lyrics of his music and the lyrics of so many rappers, it's filled with violence, misogyny, um, you know, greed, and murder, right? So when our continental African brothers and sisters are exposed to black Americans via that imagery, and it's on purpose, right? It's on purpose that these images are propagated to the world. But when they are exposed to us via that imagery, why wouldn't they automatically, right, be hesitant about embracing black Americans? If all they hear are rap songs about killing black people, why not? Why would continental Africans not be hesitant to embrace black people, right? But the problem is that image, that hip hop image of black people, is not black people. It is an image that is being propagated to the world to destroy our image, right? We are far more than hip hop music. We are far more than the images that they put out to the world. So I said that to say that I'm sure if I go to Africa, out of a billion people, I can find someone on the continent that does not like African Americans. However, I have been to the continent, and I say again that every time I have gone to the continent, I have been embraced. I have been told welcome back. I have never had a problem where I felt like I was being mistreated because I was an African American. In fact, I can recall in 2019 when I was in Johannesburg, I was in Rosebank to be exact, eating at Nando's. I believe that's how you pronounce it, eating at Nando's. And my wife and I were sitting down, and the server came to take our order. And as we began to speak, he said, "Man, you guys really sound American." He did not know that we were not South African. He said, "You guys really sound American." And I looked at him and I said, "I am an American, right? We are American, right?" But he said it in a way that he was slightly impressed by the way we sound. I listen to South African hip hop, aka Nasty C. I love Nasty C. What's his name? MT A Reese, um, and a few others. What's my brother's name that I like? Is it Blackie? I think his name is Blackie. I might have that name wrong, but um, when you listen to some of these South African hip hop artists, in particular when you listen to AKA, it's hard to find a South African accent there. He sounds like he has mastered the English accent. Nasty C. I mean, he's mastered the American accent. Nasty C sounds like he has mastered the American accent. You listen to, I mean, Zulu Man with some pow 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 pow, right? Uh, yeah, I think the song is called Easy. Easy sounds like Atlanta club song. You cannot readily identify Nasty C as a South African just by listening to you know Easy or that Steve Biko song or even the song he's done with Ti. So I say that to say that while there may be some Africans on the continent who dislike African Americans, there are some Africans on the continent who look up to African Americans, who embrace us, who want to. I mean, Trevor Noah said it himself. He said, "I used to watch, African Americans and watch TV and see African Americans and be like, I want to live like them. I want that life." He said he thought we were cool, right? And we are some of the coolest black people on the planet. I believe, Nigerians are some cool people. Burner Boy, Burner Boy. Burner Boy looks like he is from the projects in New Orleans. And I don't mean that in any bad way, but the gold teeth or the platinum teeth, I could take Burner Boy, he has the dreadlocks. I could take Burner Boy and walk him through the city, and if he did not open his mouth, he would. No one would say he is not from New Orleans. He is not an African American from New Orleans. He is very much so. He looks very phenotypically like, even though he's Nigerian, he looks very phenotypically like someone from New Orleans, and his style is very New Orleanian. So um, I say that to say it's a pretty silly question about whether Africans like African Americans, whether African Americans like Africans. You're going to find someone somewhere on this planet in this. Look, there are black folk who don't like other black folk. Let's keep it real. There are black Americans who don't like other black Americans, right? There are Nigerians who don't like other Nigerians. There are Kenyans who don't like other Kenyans, right? This is just the nature of human beings, right? So the idea or the question of whether Africans like African Americans or hate African Americans, or and whether African Americans hate is relatively silly. Listen, we are one people, and I heard Burna Boy say this in an interview on the Breakfast Club about a year ago. He says we are one people, black people, whether you are on the continent or in the diaspora, and that's where our strength is. The moment we realize that we are people, one people, right? That is when we find our strength, um, and that is what the world is really afraid of. We have to look at this relationship between African Americans and Africa for the benefits from both sides. There is benefit for African Americans being in the richest, most powerful country, most technologically advanced country on earth, whatever for whatever that may mean. There are benefits, right? There are benefits for my continental Africans who still have their culture intact and who are the most mineral rich, right, piece of land on the planet Earth, right? All of your gold, all of your diamonds, all of this stuff, everything that you use to make your computers, all of this stuff comes from Africa. We have to create a synergy between Africa and African Americans that is mutually beneficial, and that will eventually liberate all of us, right? Liberate us from the vestiges of colonialism, from the vestiges of racism and white supremacy and slavery in the United States. And we have to find a way to unite. Our power and our future depends on it. So, quick one. I didn't make it to 25 minutes this time. I only made it to 19 minutes and 54 seconds. So it'll probably be about 20 minutes before I end this. Anyway, this was a very quick one. I thank you guys for taking the time to watch. And please like, comment, and subscribe.